Devil Dog underscore 88. Devil Dog underscore 88. Going live on YouTube. So today, as promised yesterday, we're going to try to cover some important people who have worked in very delicate situations, either around NASA or around the idea of things that would change the complexity and the looks in our country, in our world. And I'm talking about stuff dealing with things that would literally obsolete a lot of fossil fuels that would eliminate that. And you know what they say about people who feel that their money will become nothing but obsolete? They'll do anything to keep it. Mary, good morning. So we're going to be talking about our first person, which is the latest person that has come out, by the name of Amy Eskridge. Amy Eskridge. She is an American. She was born 1987 and was deceased 2022. Brenda, good morning, Devil Dog and Moz and Pups. She was a scientist, an entrepreneur known for her work in gravity modification. She's from Huntsville, Alabama. That's where she was born and raised. That's actually also where she worked, in Huntsville, Alabama. She was a scientist. Some people even considered her and said she was literally a genius. I don't know what the difference is. To me, a scientist and a genius is literally, to me, one in the same box, because to become a scientist, you really have to know your stuff, no doubt. But literally, she was a scientist and a genius. And she followed in her father's footsteps, who also worked with NASA. He worked with NASA for the government in all this different things of propulsion, reverse engineering, a lot of things. He worked with a lot of different aspects. And that's probably where she got her niche to want to go ahead and follow in her father's footsteps. Brenda, Devil Dog, I totally agree with you. If you're a scientist, you are a genius, all in one box, no doubt. I cannot even imagine what the differences would be, but apparently there is something. I can see you, Paige. Yes. So the idea is that in Alabama, she co-founded an institution for exotic science and private research organization. She would explore things of quantum technologies. Now, a lot of these words are not going to really resonate with a lot of you, because they don't resonate with me, because these are things that are really above my pay grade. But for a better lack of words, she is working on things that we haven't even dealt with before, that we don't even know how it works, why it works the way it works. We have no idea. Okay, that's how special it is for these people to be able to do these type of things. That's also what puts a lot of these people in the line of fire. Because you got to understand, if we are able to literally figure out how to reverse propulsion, or how to re-engineer propulsion, and how to figure out some of these things that would make fossil fuels non-existent, not necessary, there's a lot of people that are losing a lot of money. You follow me? There's a lot of people that the money trail will not be a big deal no more, because all that oil and gas would not be really necessary in reality. Okay? So that's how literally this is so important. Good morning. Parrot Pay says, good, beautiful spring Sunday morning. No doubt. Very beautiful out here in Ohio. So some of these things that I'm going to be talking about, they're not going to make a whole lot of sense, but they have to be acknowledged, because when you know that these words, some of them don't make any sense to you, it's because that's how advanced these people are when they're trying to figure out things that no one has ever been able to figure out. Now, she had a lot of theories. She had a lot of ideas, and she definitely had what she believed was some answers to a lot of this engineering propulsion. And propulsion, engineering that propulsion, reverse engineering it, basically, sums it up as in it's just a new way to move from time to space quickly, like right now. Okay? That's what it means. Trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B in the speed of light, in less than the speed of light. Okay? So that's what they're working on. Quantum physics. And if you guys ever remember the show that came out a while back called Quantum Leap, remember that? It's kind of like that, going back and forth in time. Now, I know it sounds crazy, so just bear with me. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the kind of stuff these people are trying to figure out. Okay, they're trying to figure out how to do this. They've been trying, Jesus, for as long as we can go back, as far as as far as Area 51, back in 46, 47, possibly even a little sooner than that. Yeah. Yep. Reverse engineering, repulsion, quantum physics. Yeah. And I would guess there's nobody in here that knows what the hell all that means. Okay? Let's be honest. We can Google it, we can ask, we can, ask AI and all this stuff. Hey, what does this mean? And we can sound like we're a rocket scientist, but the reality is, let's be honest, that's above my pay grade. So I'm not even gonna begin to think that I understand how this all works, because I don't. What I'm more interested in, how these people have gone missing or unalived, or why. Who would do something like that? Well, money is the root of all evils, in my opinion, and I do believe there is a lot of evil. When you start taking the chance of affecting people's money, you know you are in a great bit of danger. So, like I said, born in 87, was unalive in 22. She was literally 34 years old, just a young pup, literally 34 years old, had the life ahead of her. And there's so many things that are documented, and there's so many different stories, and obviously you'll hear the conspiracy theories and all this type of thing. But the reality is, this is a person who worked in our government, who literally went unalive, and there's really not a clear-cut answer as to why. They can give you the synopsis, they can give you the hypotheticals and whatnot, but really, truly, when you start digging in, you start realizing, oh my God, like that don't make sense. So that's what we're going to be diving into. And we're going to still talk about the cases of Nancy. We're going to talk the cases about Monique and Spencer Tepe from Ohio. We're going to talk about the Shields, the Joanna Shields from Carlsbad. We're going to talk about the Holly Dasso case that 857 is working on. We're still going to talk about these cases up in Tucson. We're still going to talk about these cases. But we're going to dabble into something different, because there's another report of another person that has been unalived. And that just doesn't happen by accident, folks. You have to understand that. I'm more in the line of why this is happening. I'm in the line of literally why it happened or how did they become unalive, not about all the nuances as far as like the technical terms of the propulsion, reverse engineering, uh, quantum physics, all that type of thing. I'm not into that because that's out of my echelon. That's just a fact for me. But I am into the situation of wanting to know, why was this person unalive? How could this person who had so much going for them become basically obsolete? And why was no one talking about these people? It is reported now that there's 16 scientists who have either gone missing, unalived, or took their own life. And the odd thing about it is, on several of these occasions, there was information that these people of interest, these people, they literally stated that they would never take their life. And they made sure people knew. In other words, they knew something was not right. They knew something was not normal. They felt like they were being followed, watched. They were being targeted. They were being harassed because how close they were getting, or because exactly what they were doing. And that scares people when it affects their money. Some people will do anything. Could you imagine gas and oil is not a big deal no more in the world? What would that do to the dynamics of the whole world when no longer you need that to get around, to move around, to function? Yeah, very scary, no doubt. Brenda says, not really, Brenda. It's wavy above my, that's for sure. Me too. I'm intentionally not over chatting today, so it's up to you pups to carry out our conversation. That's fine, no worries. So, 34 years old, her father worked for NASA. She also worked for the government and then created her own practice. Literally, she was an entrepreneur. You know, she was working on gravity, how gravity actually operates, the modification of gravity, advanced propulsion research, all this being based in Huntsville, Alabama. She co-founded the Institute Exotic Science, a private research organization explaining areas such as quantum technologies, metal materials, and anti-gravity studies. Her death was really surprising to a lot of people. So she was born September the 19th, 1987. She became unalive June 11, 2022. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry and Biology, University of Alabama in Huntsville. She's known for anti-gravity and exotic propulsion research organization. She co-founded and president the Institution of Exotic Science, Early Life and Education. Eskridge, she grew up in Rock City, Alabama, where her father, Richard H. Eskridge, worked as a propulsion engineer at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. Immersed in the aerospace culture, she developed a broad technology background that combined chemistry, biology, and electrical engineering. She earned dual degrees from the University of Alabama. Now, this is just a little bit that I give you that I'm basically looking at and telling you this lady was a genius for all sake and purposes. That's no doubt. Now, she was at one point going to publish her findings, but she had a way to hear back from NASA. Okay, she was going to publish her foundational anti-gravity work, but she had to wait to make sure it was okay with NASA. Okay, so that she wasn't violating anything. And soon after that, she got a cease and desist letter. In other words, they were telling her, no, you're not going to talk about this. No, we're not going to allow you to talk about this. You ask the question, why? Why would they not let a scientist, a genius, to go ahead and talk about what she's been working for and what she's been working towards, trying to figure out? Why would they give her a cease and desist letter? Think about that for a minute. Song says, I just sat down with my coffee. Good to have you, Song. Talking right now about Amy Eskridge, one of the scientists, the latest scientists who have gone missing. Good morning, April. So the government issued her, NASA issued her a cease and desist letter that do not publish your work. Was she onto something? Did she figure something out? You understand what I'm saying? Was there something there that she had literally was able to put together? Even an idea or a theory. I mean, these people obviously did not want her to speak for nothing. Okay? For nothing. Zero. They did not want her to talk. And you ask the question, why? Isn't that what, since the 70s, since the 50s, we've been, you've been hearing little skid butts of the UAPs and the who's really out there and what are we really seeing in the skies and all this stuff, right? Why would they not let her publish, this scientist, this genius, her book onto what she had discovered and what she believed and why she believed it? It's like writing out your findings as to how things work. Brenda says, Devil Dog, in my opinion, she did figure it out and they had to silence her. Very possible. April sent a Devil Dog 88 one gift membership. Thank you, April. Appreciate that. Woohoo, Semper Fi, everybody. So the idea that, do I think she could have found something? Absolutely. Why else would you stop somebody who has been working their young life, and for that matter, her father, who was working with NASA under the same type of things? Why would they silence her? Why would they say, don't talk about it? Think about that for a minute. That is crazy. That is crazy. It makes no sense, everybody. None. Zero. But like I said, that old thing you used to hear in the back in the day, men in black, men in black suits. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking literally the people in black. Look, I told you before, I think that we have a government that at the highest position is our president. But I think that there's even more people who really run everything that's above that they don't even know who they are. Now, that's pretty scary if you think about it. The president is the leader of our country. He's at the highest point, right? At the highest pinnacle. But I believe there's more people above him that really, truly allow what goes out and what comes in. I really do. And I think this has been going on for a long time. That's why no president, and many have tried to release all these files of UAPs, of things that have happened, of things, sightings that were taking place, people that had videos and different things. Yes, there was a lot of how can I say, fake pictures and whatnot. Yes, of course there was. People always try to capitalize on stuff like that. But there was a lot of legitimate things that were saw by not just people, but by pilots. I mean, think about this, from astronauts, people who saw things, people who we look up to and we look at it, we go, wow, how can we trust these people to go out into space? How can we trust people to fly these F-16s and these Harriers and all these type of things? How can we put the trust in people in our military to literally, how can we put all that trust into them? But then when they come out and say, I saw something that's just not right, we say, oh, that person's crazy. Think about that for a minute. Oh, that person's crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. Oh, that's so ludicrous. Really? It wasn't ludicrous when he was doing something no one else or not many people could do, be an astronaut. It wasn't ludicrous for people to go ahead and fly these machines that we have like nobody's business, these aircrafts. We trusted in them then. What changed all of a sudden when they come back and say, man, we saw something that just did not look right? Something that just really out of this world. All of a sudden now they're like cuckoo? I don't think so. I don't think they're cuckoo at all. No doubt about it. I don't think so for 1 minute. I think these people know exactly what they saw and what they believe they saw. Because you can't give people the kudos for doing the things that they are establishing and doing that not many people can do, but then turn around and try to discredit them because they sound crazy. Well, they didn't sound crazy to fly. They didn't sound crazy to be an astronaut. They weren't crazy to work in reverse engineering propulsions and whatnot. They weren't crazy then. What made them crazy now? Think about it. So that's what we're getting into. This scientist, Amy Eskridge, was literally told, do not publish your material. There's a cease and desist order not to publish your information. It just doesn't make sense, everybody. And you have to understand that doesn't make sense. Why? Well, maybe it's because it would turn our world upside down, literally. It would take the things that we are normally accustomed to understanding and believing, that no longer is that even possible. Think about that. If you think that this is crazy talk, think about this. Did you ever in your mind think that they would develop the James Webb telescope, most powerful telescope in the world, that could capture pictures in space, that could capture pictures in space? Think about that for a minute. That could literally not just capture those pictures, but that they could send some type of infrared and give you, I'm sure you all seen these pictures that they have literally produced on what really that space in color looks like. I've seen them. And here's the thing. We could never go the far distances to some and many of these places in our lifetime. These things that we're seeing are hundreds and thousands of years, light years away. Think about that for a minute. Light years away. Thousands of light years away. Probably even million light years away. And you say, well, why is that important? Because we are getting to see what something looks like through a telescope that we could never reach it. We could never, ever reach it. in our lifetime. We would be unalive by the time we ever got there, right? Literally, if you think about it. So we are seeing the future already through the lens of this telescope. Think about it like that. You are seeing the future. Because if you waited to get there to see it, you would never make it. But because of this lens, because of the James Webb telescope, you are able to see something you would never be able to see. To me, that's seeing the future. That's exactly what it is. It's just common sense. Now let's bring it back so that we don't get into the weeds. Let's bring it back to Amy Eskridge. She's a scientist. She studies this type of stuff. The same stuff that, if you all remember or heard of the name Bob Lazar from Area 51, who worked out there, yes, came out and exposed a lot of stuff on what they were doing as far as he worked on reverse engineering propulsions. Think about that for a minute. And everybody thought he was a kook, a nut, didn't know what the hell he was talking about elements that were never on our table of elements, talking about things that they're not even on there. They're saying, oh, he's crazy. He's talking about, element, for example, 23. And then we don't even have that. All of a sudden, a few years later, guess what? The government goes ahead and adds element 23 to our element table. That's an example. But they did. I don't exactly remember the exact element number, but they added that number that he was claiming existed. Everybody thought he was nuts. Then they go, and a few years later, they actually added that element number to our element table. The idea is that people have been asking this question for a long time. April, song in my heart. Thank you for once again the membership. Good, both of you got Mary and song. Hoorah. That was my intentions. Thank you, April. Mary, thank you. Brenda, but there's always someone above someone, even in our government. No doubt about it, Brenda. No doubt about it. Lisa, thank you so much, April. Congrats to Mary and Song for winning memberships. Hoorah. Lisa sent one Devil Dog 88 a gift membership. Hoorah. Thank you, Tessie. Tessie's in the house. Good to have you, Tessie. Thank you to Lisa, says April. She was going to expose them, in my opinion. No doubt about it, April. I honestly believe she was going to come out with information that literally could have changed some dynamics. I really believe that she could have literally come out with information that they felt was too critical to let anybody see that information. Devil Dog, their findings could have destroyed fossil fuels. Am I correct? Absolutely, Brenda. It would have changed the whole dynamics. No one would give a shit about, what's going on in Iran with the blockade of oil. We wouldn't need that oil for anything of moving or cars or whatever. It's a whole new way of the future. Literally. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but there's people working on it. Like, for example, Amy Eskridge. Yeah. And some would say, Brenda, that their findings could have destroyed fossil fuels. Some would say that would be a good thing. I'm just saying. She knew way too much. April says, agreed, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Listening to this morning while I get ready for the day. Hope you all having a good day. Hands, how, and how. We'll get to that, Hands. No doubt about it. We will get to the how, and how. April. Good morning, L and Hands. Hands, was it ludicrous Apollo 11 landed on the moon in 1969? I don't know if it was ludicrous or not. All I know is they said it happened, and the people of the masses went with it, and that's all I can answer to that, to be honest, Hands. Brenda, so since the case that right, there is a good reason to silence her because it's about the money plan, plain and simple. Pretty much, it's going to change the whole dynamics if she did come up with a something. I mean, this is not something that she would not be familiar with. You got to remember, her dad worked for NASA in the same context of what she was doing. Dad passes information to her daughter. Her daughter loves it, takes off with it. Daughter now discovers, oh my God, we may have something here. Wants to publish it. NASA says, not happening. Yes, big reason. Big reason to silence her. All about the money. Hi, Hans, says Lisa. I am so sorry for being so rude to you yesterday. I hope you will forgive me someday. So, Amy, who we are talking about, forgiven, darling Paige. As you know, I was on chat to chat with devil, not to you at all. Forgiven. So there's been many persons that she has spoke to. Okay, many people that she had come out to, and here's the crazy thing. So there's an individual by the name of Sam Reed of Geometric Engineer Corporation. He named the satellite and the Doge 1. You heard of Doge, right? Elon? Doge 1 lunar payload. He named it in her honor, symbolically linking her name to the frontier of space she sought to explore. It's just crazy. So the question is, we're going to dig deep into this case because there was some people that have stated, hello, Kay. Brenda says, Devil Dog, think about this. We got rid of fossil fuels that would put fear around. Oh, no doubt. It's a game changer. I don't know if we would ever see it in our lifetimes, but it is a game changer if that could ever happen. You know, some scientists say the gravity and being able to understand this and that is impossible. Maybe it is. Some other scientists work at it until they find a way to go ahead and make it happen or make sense of it. Right? That's what learning, that's what these people, that's how much advanced these people are in their line of work. So then Mary says, so did she go to work one day and never came back? Well, this one here apparently became unalive with a gunshot that was supposedly self-inflicted to herself. Now, here's what you have to understand. Days before this happened, she had stated to her friends in text messages, I don't have them with me, but you can Google them, look them up, maybe search for them. I did see a video today that kind of talked about that. But she had literally text messaged individuals because she was worried about her life. She was being threatened physically, psychologically. She was being, for a better lack of words, she was being targeted. And she was worried about her life. That she texted some of her peers and said, if you find me unalive, I didn't do it to myself. If you find me, that I did X, Y, or Z, I didn't do it to myself. Okay. So forth and so forth. Almost like she had an idea something was coming her way, but didn't know what. But she let people know. Her father said, there's no conspiracy. She just became unalive like everyone. That's sweet of the dad to say that. And yes, she is another person, puts on her pants just like everybody else, one leg at a time. But the idea that she sent these messages saying, I would never do this. If you find me like this, it didn't happen. I didn't do it to myself. Okay. I get what her dad said. But here's the thing. I'm not so sure that we can just dismiss it as in, oh, well, she's like everybody else, she'll go ahead and she became unalive. She's just like everybody else. Well, true, but she's not like everybody else. This is a very special woman who has so much knowledge, who has so much gifted knowledge given to her, things that she obtained that no one else can even probably begin to understand unless you're in that type of field, unless you are also a very gifted, special, knowledge individual, genius, for a better lack of words. Hands, Lisa Bays, you are okay, and I want you to talk in the chat. Brenda, Lisa, just think of it as just being off. That's all we go through it, no doubt. April said, Lisa, you express your opinions like the rest. Let's move on from that, everybody. Let's just move on from that. We're done with it. That was yesterday. Glenna, absolutely, says Glenna. Glenna says, hey, Lisa. So the idea that her dad did say that, and I missed who said it in the comment. Her father, Mary said, is her father alive? Yes, her father's alive. And he did state that she's just like anybody else. She just became unalive. Well, but the way and the things that she had said prior to this happening to her really does speak volume. It's a whole nother level, everybody. A whole nother level. So apparently they found her, like I said, unalive with gunshot wound that basically she took her own life. That just doesn't seem realistic. Now, one plausible that people could argue or say, well, maybe it does, could be the fact that she felt like all her work that she had worked on and come across and discovered that people in government were never going to let see the day of light. She could have been depressed. She could have been upset. She could have said, why am I doing this all for my, trying to discover all this if I'm never going to be able to show it? That's one way of looking at it. It's possible. But for her to send people messages stating, her friends, closest confidants, saying, I would not do this. If you find me like this, I didn't do it. If you find me crashed in a vehicle, I didn't crash myself. Almost like she was covering every base so that people would understand something's not right here. That's what I got out of it. April says, when someone becomes involved in government, never ends. Well, it seems. No doubt. Well said. Well said. So these are just ideas and theories, but this is what she did. That's what she was about. I mean, she was a very smart individual, And yes, because there have been so many people that have become here lately unalived or gone missing, then that's why we're talking about it. It's because we just had a woman for 100 and some days gone missing, hasn't been recovered yet, in Nancy Guthrie. And how does this happen? How do we not have any leads? Same as this woman. She was found unalive with gunshot wounds that apparently she did to herself after saying she would never do stuff like that. And it only happened a few days later after she messaged her friends with that information. That's not accident, everybody. Let's be realistic. Or it doesn't appear to be an accident. It doesn't appear to be a self-inflicted wound. Lisa, so she was fearful for her life, big time, big time. April, you got that right. There are too many people who get involved. They are no longer here, but why? Is that possibly related to other 10-ish unalive? Yes, absolutely. Because most of these people worked, and we're going to talk about each one, as the days go on. But the idea that, yes, because they most of them work in the capacity of either NASA or in private enterprise, like private funding, private groups, foundations, that they worked in the same concept of reverse engineering, propulsion, okay? Reverse engineering, propulsion, gravity, anti-gravity, stuff that we don't even have a clue on how the hell it works. You know what I mean? We have no clue how that works. And that's just a fact. Now, is this something our government is working on? Very, very highly in possibility, according to some. This has been something they've been trying to figure out for many, 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 many years. This is something that they feel would be a game changer if the government is able to do it. Not private individuals, not people who want to put out books about it, not people who want to leak it, but just for the government, for the sake of government purposes. Follow me? So yes, it would make all the perfect sense why they unalived her. To me, it does anyway. But it's just a theory. It's a hunch. It's just a feeling. By sure, Lisa, this is definitely all related. Yes, in my opinion. Maybe not all, but when we cover them, you will see the common denominator in all of this. They call them whistleblowers and consider them a threat. Yes, we've seen a lot of whistleblowers come forward, no doubt about it, in this area of NASA. Brenda, Aprils, I do know of one case. She was considered a threat and she was considered suicide. This reminds me too much of this one case, and the case I'm talking about, Marilyn Monroe. Very possible. Many whistleblowers have spoken out in disguise publicly because are afraid to show their identity. Okay, all those unalive scientists are related to repulsion stuff, and that is just the first one we are covering out of many. Got it. Sounds good. Interesting information and refreshing to me. It's just something where these people have worked either with our government, with NASA, for these specific reasons. And then all of a sudden, it's like they're no longer with us. And honestly, up until they started talking about these scientists that were going missing, these scientists that it's going to blow your mind on some of these cases that literally just disappeared after taking a walk or whatnot, it's going to blow your mind to think that how this could happen like this. Almost like you can get in, but you can never get out. You can get in and explore, but once you find what you find, you're never getting out. And that's the big thing. That's the problem. The power of having this knowledge is it's just priceless. There's nothing money can be put on it. This needs to be covered or investigated or discussed or researched, in my opinion. No doubt, Lisa. And the other thing, too, that they talked about was that literally now the president has ordered the FBI to look into this. And you got to remember, the president has already stated he wants all these files released dealing with UAPs, dealing with what we know of UAPs, what we know about space that's out there, what people have seen or reported to have seen. He's asked them to go ahead and literally release those documents. Ironically, you have a lot of people here now being reported that have gone missing. Coincidence? I don't know. I really don't know. Or just something that it was felt needed to be done. Brenda, Marilyn Monroe did not unalive herself, in my opinion. I doubt this lady did either. April, I totally agree with you on that. I am often suspicious of alleged self-inflicted unalives. Well, especially when they are telling people they would never do something like that. That if they were found like that, they didn't do it. Almost like they had a warning or they had a forethought that something was coming down the pike. Hands, do you know that old song, Please Release Me, Let Me Go, 1969 song? I don't, Hands. I'll have to look that one up. I don't. Yeah, I think I was like 1 years old when that came out. But yeah, I haven't heard that. I'll check it out for sure, though. Thank you. Hands says release the UFO documents. I mean, he did say when he ran that he was going to release all documents referring to JFK and Martin Luther King and the UFO, or at that well now being it's known as UAPs. He did say that, so I'm not sure what's the why there been so much weight. Engbert Humperdinck sang that song. I would look it up. Thank you, Hans. I appreciate that. So now you have Amy Eskridge, who by all rights is known as a genius, a scientist in those categories of work, who literally was a founder of this for better lack of words, of this group that were working to try to figure out how does it work? How does the propulsion theory work? How does reverse engineering work? How could they discover the things that they needed to discover? My dad was in the army, and dad came home one day and told me, if our government doesn't like what you do, you would disappear one way or the other. That's no doubt. That is no doubt. Well said, Brenda. That's a fact. That's a fact. Your dad knew exactly what he was saying because, hey, look, the government doesn't like anything you do that they disagree with, or you try to bend the rules. Yes, yes, it's definitely going to come back to bite you in the ass. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, this is just part of her story, part of who she is. And like I said, we're going to cover more with this at 5 o'clock on our next live when at 5 o'clock or maybe even 4 o'clock. Hell, we may even do it sooner than that. We're not done yet, but I'm just saying we're definitely going to be covering a lot more. But that's her. I mean, think about that. You heard of quantum physics. You heard of the whole idea of physics. I mean, that stuff was always something so foreign to me. I'd never understood that. And maybe that's why that's never been up my alley. No doubt about it. Could she have broken a gag order from she very well could have. She very well could have. I mean, that's a very good point, and that's a very good possibility, April. I'm just not sure if that would constitute unaliving her, you know? Are the government with Jesus Christ or against Jesus Christ? That is important. That I do not know. Honestly, I do not know, Hans. All I can speak about that is about my own self. I have no clue what this government believes or doesn't believe when it comes to Jesus Christ. In my, you know what I mean? I would like to say that I would hope they would say yes, that the government does believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't know. I really truly don't know what they believe. I don't know what any government really believes. I just know what I believe. But good question, good comment. So that's basically the thing about her. And like I said, I have to do a little bit more research to figure out some more things. But I've watched videos, and the videos that I watched were by her peers here just recently. And her peer had said she was worried that he never saw her so afraid of being unalive, that it definitely, when he talked to her, it was definitely not something that he ever seen her act like before. You know what I mean? So there is people out there that are literally other people, like either from England or the British or whatever, that worked with her, or that they got along because they worked in similar type of fields. And he was stating here recently that he never saw her like that before. Literally, that it was very, very rare to see her like that, where she was afraid someone was going to take her life, or she was in danger, for a better lack of words. April, I know someone who works border patrol, and he cannot have social media or speak about anything related to his job, not even his family. Totally understand that, bro. Totally understand that, April. Totally understand that. Her friends needs protection now too, in my opinion. Absolutely. Double Dog, what if Cameron told Nancy something that happened in the Air Force put Nancy's life? Yeah, I would say that's a probability. That could be possible. My only thought to that would be, you know, yeah, I mean it's always probable, but my thought would be, if we stick to the what we do know, I think we're on the right track. Honestly, when it comes to Nancy, I think we're on that right path in my opinion. KB said Jeremy Corbell has an extensive study on this phenomenon. He does, and I've seen many of his stuff. Lou Alejandros, he was one of the ones that was put in charge of a lot of this stuff when he got out of the FBI, and they put him in that position until it compromised, until he couldn't really speak out on what he was seeing and what he was finding, that he had to leave, literally resign from his position because they were not going to let him speak freely. That was Luis Alessandro. I wonder if she wouldn't. I wonder if she would have filed a police report or sorts. Probably. I don't know. I think she just was really scared, to be honest. I really believe that. All right, all right. Pay says, thank you for that. Simplified explanation, KB. April, hope the government didn't get to DD. I am here. Who knows? Maybe that's what they cause is us to go ahead and we were doing just fine, and all of a sudden it started buffering. How weird that happens. Of course, I am close to a data center, very close to a data center, so maybe that has something to do with it. Woo! I don't know. Yeah, I'm in the back. On the back. Yeah. So, yes. In 1973, song by Mungo Jerry. All right, all right, all right. Interesting. Very interesting. Says hands. You coming off with these ones that Mungo. All right, all right. You know, I probably heard it. I just don't. It just doesn't come to my mind. No doubt about it. But thank you. Thank you for asking. You're giving me a couple songs I need to go check out. Man, that sun is so strong. Whew. Exactly. Oh no, I like the oldies. I just, like I said, I probably heard of it. Honestly, hands, I probably heard of it. It's. I mean, I've listened to like, but it's just the idea that I just can't right now put it all into. Yes, the Beach Boys were a good band too, no doubt about it. Marianne, oh no, I come on and he is buffering. I'm headed home right now. It'll take me about 7 minutes. We're going to continue this when I get home, so just bear with it as much as you can. But getting back to what we were talking about, can you guys hear me okay right now? Give me a one if you can hear me okay. All right, all right. Good deal. So, getting back to Amy Eskridge, there's a lot more information there. There's a lot of information with Amy. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot of information, and we're not done talking about Amy. There's going to be more to come with her before we move on because we just scratched the surface. But the idea is that if you guys could look her up, Amy Eskridge, and kind of watch some things, you guys may get a little bit more. Um, Maybe you guys could find a little bit more than what I'm finding, but you guys could actually know exactly who we're talking about and what her story is. But this lady literally is a very, very special individual. And I mean special as a genius. And the fact that she wanted to publish her findings and NASA told her no and send her a cease and desist order, you got to ask the question why? What was the reason why they would have her do this? Don't forget to subscribe, everybody. If you like the channel, subscribe. Be a devil pup investigator in the channel. So the idea that they would go ahead and literally tell her she cannot go ahead and report her findings, I mean, it's got to be stunning. Because if that's what you work for all the whole time in what you've known, and all of a sudden they're telling you, sounds good, Fall, sounds good, we'll hold the fort. The idea that they're going to make her not give out her findings, then what's the purpose of literally going ahead and trying to solve some things that literally are near impossible? And I say that because so many people have tried over probably the last 60, 70 years and still haven't been able to make it happen. You know what I mean? So then the idea becomes, gosh, like, you know, that's got to really suck, because you cannot tell people what you have found. And who knows, maybe she did find a connection to reverse engineering, anti-gravity, propulsion. Maybe she did find a way to do this kind of stuff. And now she can't even say it to anybody. And who knows? Maybe our government has that information already. The fact that she became unalive after telling everybody she would never take her life, she would never go ahead and purposely run off a cliff, or that type of thing. That if she became unalive, it was by somebody else, not by her. That speaks volume. In my opinion, that speaks a lot of volume. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and come back on in about 5 minutes. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to come back on. If you can hear me, I'm just letting you know. It seems like, I don't know if, am I still buffering? Can anybody let me know if I'm still buffering? One yes, two no. Anybody tell me if I'm buffering? No. Okay, thank you, Marianne. Appreciate that. So that's what we're dealing with Amy Eskridge. I mean, 34 years old. Think about that. To be 34 years old and be talked about in the light of being a genius and coming up with things that people only have tried for the longest time, it's really interesting. I mean, that's a young pup, no doubt about it, no matter how you look at it. Devil Dog, it scares me to think what our government does. It really does. It really does. I mean, the things and the power and the things that they're not afraid to do to somebody is unbelievable. It is just unbelievable. And then the people have to pick up those pieces. They have to figure out, how do they move on. They have to figure out, how do they get through this. You know, it did surprise me. I'm not going to lie. It did surprise me that her father said everybody becomes unalive at some point. We are all, uh, we are all, human beings. We all are going to become unalive. That kind of shocked me when I heard that from her dad. But then I also asked myself, well, was he pressured to say that? Was he pressured because he worked with NASA? Did they threaten his pension? I mean, I don't put nothing past these people. Did he threaten? Was his pension threatened? Was he threatened? Did he think he might as well go this route because maybe he was telling his daughter, "Be careful, because these people, once you're in, you will never be let out." Is that possible? You know what I mean? There's just so much there. It just doesn't make sense what happened to her, if in fact this really did happen to her. Everything is involved with the government, no doubt. Everything. Everything is involved in one way, shape, or another. In one way, shape, or another, everything is involved. And if you don't go ahead and you don't do what they want you to do, then yeah, absolutely. You are going to be targeted one way or the other. It's going to happen. So that's the interesting part to me. I am about 2 minutes from being home, everybody. We will have a better signal. Maybe we need to look in that. Hopefully, we're almost there, able to get a Starlink. Could you imagine if these? I mean, think of our stock market. Could you imagine what would happen to our stock market if oil and gas had nothing to play in it? Could you imagine all the things that would become obsolete if they were able to figure out how to navigate propulsion or to re-engineer propulsion? I mean, that's what Bob Lazar said he was doing. And everybody called him a liar until all these things started coming out. No doubt about it. Yeah, I've been in the military. I know when they want you not to say something, they will tell you, do not say their prayer and their mercy. Literally, you are at their prayer and their mercy. So, what time you go work? We can leave at like 11. I started 11:45, so okay. Like 11:20 we can leave. Brenda says, Double Dog, then it would be the Great Depression all over again. Now that is starting to make sense. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Could you imagine? It's like, I mean, and here's the thing. They want you to have this information. They want you to be able to present this information. They want you to be able to have this conversation. They want you to be able to develop this. They just don't want you to give it to anybody or talk about it. You know, it's like, what's the point? What is the point? And I'm not sure if I know the point, to be honest. Hang on a second, everybody. We're going inside. Yeah, going inside. Stand by. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put you guys on pause.
In all these years growing up on the reef, I've been too nervous to dive at night. But tonight, I'm feeling a bit more courageous.
All right, everybody, we're back. Hopefully we got a very good signal. All right. Knowledge is power, in my opinion, says Lisa. No doubt about it. Bringing is buffering right now, says Paige now, but I like it a lot. Brenda, Lisa, yes, it is no doubt. Brenda, Lisa, but too much knowledge can get you in trouble as well. That is true. Well, it only gets you in trouble because people want to be able to control that, right? People want to be able to tell you what is it that you're going to believe. What is it that they want you to know? You know, they want to tell you, they want to dictate to you, this is how you're going to function. You know what I mean? That's why. That is exactly why. Because they want to be able to dictate to you. You know, I'm sure Amy Eskridge did not like the fact that someone was telling her what she could or could not present, right? You know, I'm sure Amy Eskridge was saying, no, this is my work. This is what I have been able to do. This is what I've been able to figure out. You know, and now I want to be able to share my ideas. And maybe she was so close. Maybe Amy Eskridge was so close to figuring it out what exactly was going to be that difference, the difference maker. What exactly was going to be the part that could have opened some eyes into possibilities. I'm not sure that Amy had all the right things, right? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying she had all the right elements, if you will, but she probably had a pretty damn good argument as to how it works. And even just having a good argument to how it works, that could have been exactly what they didn't want to get out. Does that make sense? That the government did not want it to get out. And then, yeah, think of all the people that are involved in oil and gas. You know, everything from Elon Musk all the way down to every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that has stock. They're not going to want that stuff to go to the wayside. There's no way. It changes the whole course of the world. And I do say the world because you know as well as I do, sooner or later, a lot of this stuff is going to come out. This feels so much like a James Bond 007 movie. Oh my God, but it's in real life. I mean, you can't make this up, everybody. You cannot make this up. So, what we have to remember is that Amy Eskridge was a human being. Yes, she was a smart human being. Yes, she may have been even known as a genius. But she was a human being who contributed to our country with her expertise and knowledge. And if someone made her unalive, then it is our job to put the word out there to say, hey, something's not right here, in hopes that somebody will pick up and run with that. Because I don't think anybody who's contributed to our country, to this country, our country, deserves that type of silence, if you will, for a better lack of words. That's just my take. I mean, listen to some of the things, literally. This is, matter of fact, I want to show you a picture of what she looks like just to give you guys an idea. So this is Amy Eskridge right here, 34 years old. Scientist, classified as a genius. I'm sure, that had a lot to do with her parents. That's her. And to think that all of a sudden, at that young of age, she's going to become unalive, that's crazy. No one is expendable. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No one is expendable. Well said. I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. There are literally 16 scientists that have gone missing and or unalived and or have taken their own life. KB, do you think none of these cases being solved is on purpose? Absolutely. Absolutely I do. Especially these cases that we're talking about, like um, Amy Eskridge, especially people like her in the scientific field, people like others that are mentioned. Absolutely, they're being silenced. Absolutely, and absolutely, they're not looking at. In my opinion, they're not going to tell you. I mean, for God's sake, if they could literally do this to someone, they could do this to anyone. And if they could do this to anyone, guess what? It's probably because they don't want nothing to come out, you know? KB, in my opinion, sorry to say, yes, says Brenda. I mean, that's a no doubter. No doubter, in my opinion. No doubt. No doubt. I mean, look at the time frame. This happened when she became unalive, happened in 2022. Now, think about this for a minute. This happened in 2022. They have just now put her on the list of one of the scientists that went missing or unalive. They just put her on that list, but she literally was deceased in 2022. What took so damn long on putting her in that focal point as a person who was unalived? Almost like they didn't want anybody to know the story. Like they didn't want anybody to figure it out. Like they didn't want anybody to talk about it. So they waited X amount of years, and now they're going to go ahead and publish it, put it in the stratosphere, if for so to speak. Yes, can still see your page. I mean, just the idea. Could you imagine that? How is that even possible? She got involved with this in NASA because of her father, because he was someone who had worked with NASA in these fields. So I'm sure that, like I said, her dad literally, she had a head start amongst a lot of people because her dad was giving her a lot of info on physics and how it works and how it meshes and how it how it actually happens, and then she took it to another level. That is very, very possible. She took this to another level. But right now, these 16 people, you're not really hearing anything about it. And I get it. There's a lot going on right now. Got a war in Iran. Got Nancy Guthrie missing. Got all these other cases that we've talked about. You have the case of Holly Dasso, in Tucson, that 857 is working on. You have a case over there in. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hang on. Okay. 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 I'll see if they can go out there real quick. You're welcome. But, Nate, get a hold of Faith. Tell Faith to come in. Shh. So yeah, so that's the whole point. We can't be the only ones to have noticed. Yeah, we can't be the only ones to have noticed all of this. Oh boy, this is mind blowing in my opinion. Wow, shake my head. I'm only hearing it on Nancy Grace, and that's the thing. We're hearing this. I've been hearing this, but I haven't really been covering it because I didn't know really how to bring it out to the forefront. Because of the fact that. Can you go to the car and see if Breeze Wilson is in there? If it came off her thing. Stop. The idea, literally, that no one is really bringing this up is bonkers. You know, I mean, if anything, think of the fact that they are literally contributing to the country, right? They're only making our country better. And yet that's not good enough. It just makes no sense. Fear is a major hindrance, says Lisa. Very true. As being swept under the rug, in my opinion, is probably hush hush. No doubt. That is very true. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. Will you stop? Hey! Sorry, just a dog. Hey. Hang on a second, everybody. Claire! Fear is a major hindrance. Lisa, you hit it on the nose. What else, literally? Yes, Nancy Grace is covering quite a bit of this stuff. Okay. No, it's not in there. Could you let Bree know? I'll let her know. Marianne, so do I, Lisa.
Sorry, I got still a Lucy got out for a second.
So the idea of what she's going through or what she went through, knowing that she was being targeted, knowing that it's a very good possibility that she was being looked at, knowing very, very positivity that she was feeling like her life was being threatened, and that she probably couldn't go to anybody because she didn't trust anybody other than her peers and some of her closest friends. Think about it this way, says Brenda. If a whistleblower leaked that info on the unalive and missing, scientists, what happened to that whistleblower? I wonder. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. It is very possible that that whistleblower is also unalive somewhere. You know, there's a lot of people that are literally that. There's a lot of thoughts, everybody, on what's happening, and it's not just in a vacuum. It's not something that just happened overnight. It is something that literally went ahead and has taken place over a while. No one had the idea of no one had the idea of going ahead and being able to just say, you know, oh, these people are unaliving and it's just okay. It is, that's okay. No, it's not okay. It's never been okay for anyone to lose their life, especially when the government wanted you to do this type of work. She looks a lot younger on and prettier than I expected her to look. Thanks for showing us the big dog. You're welcome. That's the thing. There's so many things happening right now, and it all has to deal or surround around NASA. How does that happen? You know, frontier, exploring, going out to space, trying to, literally figure out all these things on how and what people see in space and in the skies, you know. And then they go out and they look for it and they find this stuff, or they attempt to find it, and maybe they stumble across some things, and now they're being unalive for it. It just makes no sense. April, whistleblowers could be another scientist maybe, and gave her up for what she knows. Yeah, but and that's true, April. But only for that other whistleblower to find himself probably 6 feet under in a little bit. There's no love amongst people who are trying to unalive you. I mean, it's just bonkers. And then for her to grow up literally in Huntsville, Alabama, went to school in Huntsville, Alabama, worked for NASA in Huntsville, Alabama, grew up there, and literally opened her own type of entity in Huntsville, Alabama, her own practice, for better lack of words. She is someone who has literally, you could say, is one of those pioneers. Even at the age of 34, is a pioneer of trying to resolve and answer these questions that everybody's been trying to answer. So why take that away from her? Think about it. She asked days before she was unalive. She asked days, waiting on a response from NASA to allow her to publish her findings, only to say no, don't do it. Well, what the hell is that? Don't do it. How does that work? How does that work? So once again, let's see here. So it did not happen. It did not work. Now, she had talked literally to a British officer, someone she had become friends with, someone she trusted. Okay. And she had talked to this man in reference to what was going on in her life. Frank, Franc Milburn is the gentleman's name. Frank Milburn. She had talked to him and told him about what she was going through. And you can even pull Frank Milburn, F A, I'm sorry, Franc, and then Milburn, common spelling, Milburn. If you look at that up in YouTube and you watch his YouTube, or watch what he has to say about her, you will come to find out that there's a lot there. That is a fact, Brenda. No doubt about it. Lisa, thank you, April. You rock. Amy Eskridge to a friend. This is what she said in one of her messages to a friend. If you see any report that I unalived myself, I most definitely did not. This is what she wrote on an email to a friend. Milburn said Estridge also told him not to believe any reports that she had unalived by suicide. And that's exactly how they're saying that she went, was she became unalived by suicide. You know what I mean? She died June 11th. You all know that. Alabama, you all know that. There's just so many. Even the Frank Milburn said he suggested that there was some bad actors may have had it in for his friend because Estridge had been developing technology that threatened conventional rocketeering. I mean, think about that for a minute. More nightmares to think of a bunch of rogue 007's agents running around. Brenda, April, or Brenda, Lisa, you got that right. Lisa, why didn't she write a detailed letter? Well, I believed earlier in reading about her story, I believed that she just felt she was being watched. She was being literally monitored. Hell, she even at one point said that she was being not hurt just emotionally or physically, or emotionally, but also physically. So you say, well, what's the issue? Well, like on one of her hands, I guess she had a lot of issues with one of her hands, and she blamed it on the fact of some type of chemical that was around her, put on her hand, or whatever, and that caused a lot, of problems, and that could be another thing. But I think with her telling her friend, literally, that by telling her friend that she would not take her life was like the last straw, if you will. Do you really need to say more than that? Brenda says, Devil Dog, so it sounds like to me she knew what was going to happen to her. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to know fact, but it would make sense to a certain extent. How old was she again, Devil Dog? 34 years old. She was 34. Yes, 34. That's what I said. 34 years old. She was 34 years old. She should have filed a formal complaint. Then, in my opinion, Lisa, that's what Lisa said. Yeah, but here's the thing: if you don't trust the government and you're making a complaint, who are you making the complaint to? I mean, when the government comes after you, it's not like there's a whole lot of people left that can do more harm than the government, right? It's very true. It's very true what you're saying. Just the idea that someone could actually do this to someone else and get away with it is just beyond belief. I mean, sometimes I look at this and I ask myself, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do? How would you handle this? And honestly, dealing with the government, it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal because by you putting yourself out there, you could and be shots being taken across the bows to you. And saying that is not saying that it's not worth it, but you have to really think about how it's going to unfold. Brenda says, Lisa, maybe because she would have been called a liar and it was thrown out, in my opinion. Very possible. Right, Brenda? Possibility. So, Amy is a very, very respected individual, well known. And I just think that we have to look at those things and prove or show where there may be some inconsistencies. So that's where we're at, everybody. This just proves my statement says page and declaration that I am gullible because I've blown away for real. KB, loudly not lost. Very true. Very, very true. Kaylee says Bob Lazar came out publicly and lost in order to protect himself. He did. He did. He definitely did. Then just proves my statement and declaration that I am gullible. Brenda, Lisa, you're not gullible. You have no idea what our government is capable of. And it's not being gullible. It means you need to start getting a lot more knowledge. Amen. Very interesting. Lisa says, okay, thank you. April, I didn't follow out government until I got older and it's blown away too, but now nothing shocks me. Yeah. And nothing really should shock anybody on what's happening in the world today. I meant naive, then oops. Lisa, your see here. KB says, if the government knew who did this, they are probably not sane. It's very possible. I mean, I can't see how the government's going to come out and say, yes, hey, I went ahead and did X, Y, and Z. How does that happen? I trusted the thing government. Ha ha ha, says Paige. If the government knows who did this, they're probably no. They're probably not because it is to their best interest. They don't want people going ahead and exposing some of the things that they know or some of the things that they would have done. Right? It goes without saying. So that's just from point A from the very beginning. I just look at the fact that innocent people once again are looking for the draft. I trusted the fine government. Ha, yeah. I trust the government no more than I can pick them up and throw them. In all honesty, it just sickens me. So, from here, we're going to go with the same person at 5. We're going to talk maybe 4, 4 or 5. We're going to talk about the same person. Maybe try to cover some other grounds. But there is a lot. Like let me give you an example here. Hang on. Give me one. Let me give you one example here. All right. So where is it at? Let me see here. Give me a second. I'm looking for it. Hang on a second. Trying to find it, everybody. Just bear with me. So I was listening to a podcast earlier, and so let me just play a little bit. This is not that long. Okay? Just give me a second.
My ex-boyfriend and I realized that I found out that I was being physically surveilled by the following
Listen
method.
to this for a little bit. It's only about 5-6 minutes.
My ex-boyfriend and I realized that people had been breaking into our apartment while we were gone together in the same vehicle. And so, like, I'm in the apartment, I'm about to go to work, and I'm like, why don't you take out the trash and scope out the parking lot and make sure it's okay before I go to work? So he goes out there and he's like, there's this weird fucking Lexus. It's like a silver Lexus. This is a shitty apartment. Like, why is there really nice Lexus in the parking lot? And it has tinted windows that are not street legal. Like, just totally dark, totally black tinted windows that are not possibly street legal. And so he comes back in and we're standing in our bedroom window looking at the Lexus and talking about it. And I say out loud, maybe we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate. Because the Lexus is across the parking lot from us, but it's backed in, so you can't see the license plate. Within 2 minutes of me saying, hey, we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate, we were still standing there at the window looking at it, talking about it. And an Eastern European looking motherfucker with a black beanie, dressed all in black, in his 50s or 60s, walked out of the apartment directly across from ours holding a license plate. And he opened the trunk of the Lexus and he took out some tools and he changed the license plate right in front of our fucking faces. And then he walked back to his apartment and he put the old license plate on the front patio and went inside, left it outside. And it was literally like, come get the license plate. I have more. I have more where this came from. Come get the license plate. And then after that, the Lexus started tailing me. And every time I saw the Lexus, it had a different license plate. It would be like Alabama plates, a different state plate. It would be random dealer plates, none of which were local. Just like cardboard temporary dealer plates, none of which were any local dealers. Every time I saw it, it was different plates. It would follow me to the gas station to go get beer. I would go get beer at the gas station, and that Lexus follows me. And even my ex called an Uber once. He called an Uber. The Lexus pulled out from the spot across the parking lot from our apartment, drove over to our apartment, and said, hey, I'm your Uber here to pick you up.
Reports surrounding the death of Amy Eskridge, a researcher associated with experimental anti-gravity concepts, have drawn renewed attention following claims about messages she sent prior to her passing. Amy Eskridge was found with a gunshot wound to the head in Huntsville, and her death was officially ruled a suicide. However, reports state that approximately 1 month before her death, she sent a message to a friend expressing fear for her safety and denying any intention to harm herself. In May 2022, she reportedly said in a text, "If you see any report that I killed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I killed anyone else, I most definitely did not." The message has since circulated widely online, contributing to speculation and debate about the circumstances surrounding her death. Additional claims reported in media accounts suggest Eskridge told a friend she believed she had been subjected to physical and psychological attacks prior to her death, including references to what she described as an energy weapon. In a prior interview before her passing, Eskridge reportedly expressed growing concern for her safety, stating that she was becoming increasingly afraid and felt the need to disclose soon. Let's dig deeper about her story. Amy Eskridge, 34-year-old at the time of her death, was a United States-based researcher and entrepreneur connected to experimental propulsion and anti-gravity concepts. She co-founded the Institute for Exotic Science, an independent group that aimed to publicly explore and discuss unconventional physics ideas like gravity manipulation. She died at the age of 34 inches, Huntsville, Alabama. She came from a NASA-connected family. Her father was an engineer, and her area of expertise was focused in advanced propulsion theories and experimental science. Before her death, Eskridge made disturbing statements suggesting she felt threatened. She reportedly said her life was in danger, claimed harassment and intimidation, including allegations involving energy weapons. She posted that she would never kill herself. She died on the 11th of June 2022, which was officially ruled as suicide self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities have not publicly released detailed investigation findings. This lack of transparency is one of the key reasons the case keeps resurfacing. Eskridge's case is often grouped into a broader cases where multiple scientists have died or disappeared mysteriously. However, it's a question that remains unanswered. Anti-gravity research itself has a long history of controversy and speculation. For example, Ning Li was another scientist known for similar theories. Her work also sparked decades of speculation. She was struck by a car in Huntsville, which
It's almost done.
Permanent brain damage. She later died. This field sits at the intersection of...
I want you guys to hear this because this is just gives you the same context.
Ideas, public fascination with
Listen
hidden
to this.
technology. Here is a list of scientists who have died and others reported missing. At NASA JPL, Frank Mywald, dead. Top scientist detecting signs of alien life. Carl Grillmere, dead. Scientist working on infrared telescopes. His work reportedly found a planet with water. Michael David Hicks, dead. NASA research scientist. Monica Jacinto Reza, missing. Director of Materials Processing Group, received funding. At the Kansas City National Security Campus, Stephen Garcia, missing, government contractor. At Los Alamos National Laboratory, Melissa Cassius, missing, administrative assistant. Anthony Chavez, missing, former employee until 2017. At AFRL Air Force Research Laboratory, William Neal McCasland, missing, oversaw research at base. Connected to AFRL Wright-Patterson AFB and AFRL Kirtland AFB, which are described as building parts of nuclear weapons and overseeing research. Additional individuals listed with no direct connection discovered. Nuno Loureiro, dead, nuclear fusion researcher. Jason Thomas, dead, pharmaceutical researcher. Amy Catherine Eskridge, dead, anti-gravity researcher. According to Amy's case, authorities have not released further details beyond the official ruling. The case continues to attract online attention due to the nature of the claims and Eskridge's reported work. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please subscribe, like, share, and comment.
So the idea that you guys just heard, the idea that this lady knew she was being stalked. Did you guys get the idea of when she was talking about the license plate? So her and her ex-husband, he had noticed a black vehicle that was out there in the front that didn't fit the area that where they were at. And he said he came in and said, "Man, that's weird. A vehicle, Lexus, black, tinted windows, doesn't wouldn't it's not legal because you can only have so many tinted windows, a certain degree of tint. Officers have to be able to see you when they come up, when they stop you. They have to be able to see you, so you can't have that complete dark where no one can tell who's driving." Okay, that's just law. And so she talks about, well, maybe we ought to go and take a picture of the license plate. And then the guy comes out from across from her door, goes to that vehicle, has another license plate in his hands, takes that license plate off, puts the other license plate on, comes back and says, "If you want another plate, I got them. I got many of them. I can give them to you all day long." Something to that effect. So my point is, how did that guy know exactly what they were talking about? Was he surveilling her? Did he have some type of hearing mechanisms inside her apartment? You follow me? This doesn't happen just in a vacuum, folks. This happens literally when someone doesn't like what you're putting out there and they want to go ahead and get it to stop. Okay? That's what you just heard. You just heard a snippet of what she was going through. April says, "Off topic now. I got Savannah's husband in my mind." Okay, tell me what you got, April. It's just crazy. Go ahead, throw it out. What do you have, April? Must have had an AirTag on the car. Very possible, Gronsky. Very possible. Well, what's going on, April, with Savannah? You said you have Savannah's husband in mind. All right, everybody. I'm going to end it there. I think, this is just something we're going to be going. He was a cleaner for the Clinton party and politics, says April. Yes, he was. He was a cleaner. He was a scrubber. He was a, for better lack of words, he was the fixer. No doubt about it. What about all those minerals, says Groundsky? I don't know. I don't know what's happening now. I'm going to do some more research on this, and we'll talk about it later today at about 5. But the idea that they would literally go ahead and do this is just unreal. It's unheard of. But it's like I said before, you can't make this stuff up, everybody. You very welcome, Paige. Paige says bye and thank you, dog. Gronsky, okay. Just know it, everybody. I know this is not like the sexiest topics that they're out there, and I know we want to stay with kind of like in the realm of the people that we talked about with Nancy and Holly Dasso and Monique and Spencer Tepe and Joanna Joanna Ruth Shields. But here's the thing: this has to be brought up. We have to figure out how we can bring this up, and maybe the right people will hear it. So with that, I'm gonna go. I'll be back. I don't know. I'll be back. What's a good time you think? You guys like 3 or 4? 3 or 4. What do you guys think? 3 or 4. Right, Grosky. You would have to go underground to be safe, no doubt. That is very true. April. All right, let's have that. We're gonna come back at 3 o'clock. We're gonna come back at 3 o'clock, finish up or talk a little bit more about Amy Eskridge. And if you guys want to do a little research, go for it. But we're gonna go ahead and have that talk at 3 o'clock. So with that, everybody, just remember, I appreciate you all. Thank you for the other memberships, the gifted memberships. It goes a long way when we help each other out and when we're able to do that, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see. I appreciate all of you. I think highly of all of you. I believe you all have common sense and you all understand because you ask the right questions. So, saying that, God bless, take care, and just remember it's all common sense. It's all common sense. Simplify.